Hello, my dear masterminds. The moment you walked in, everything shifted. Not because you tried, not because you flexed, not because you demanded anything, but because your presence carried a weight they weren't prepared to handle. Their reaction told the whole story. The way the room went still for a second, the way eyes flicked toward you then away, like they touched something too bright. The way conversations stumbled, tones changed, energy recalibrated. That wasn't coincidence. That was impact. You stepped into a level they didn't even know was possible for someone like you. Or at least, someone they thought they understood. And that's the part that hit them the hardest. The realization that you were evolving in silence while they were laughing in noise. They didn't see the late nights, the rebuilds, the inner challenges you navigated alone. They didn't see the moments where you were struggling but still showed up. They didn't see the version of you that kept choosing growth every time someone tried to discourage you. So now, watching you move differently, it stunned them. You weren't reacting the same, you weren't hesitating the same, you weren't carrying doubt anymore. You walked in with the kind of clarity people only develop after surviving, everything meant to test them. And they felt that. You didn't need to speak for them to know you'd crossed a threshold. Your energy arrived before your footsteps. Your confidence spoke before your voice. Your presence exposed everything they tried to hide. Jealousy, insecurity, unease. It wasn't your rise that bothered them. It was the speed, the grace, the ease. The fact that you weren't arrogant, you were aligned. That's what rattled them. Because when you level up quietly, you don't just change the room. You change people's self-perception. You force them to face the truth. They stayed the same while you outgrew every limitation they believed you had. Their reaction wasn't shock, it was recognition. Recognition that you no longer fit the category they tried to place you in. Recognition that you weren't playing by their rules anymore. Recognition that you surpassed the version of you they were comfortable with. And the deeper truth, you weren't even at your full power. You just unlocked a part of yourself you were afraid to touch before. A level your intuition saw years ago, but your confidence had to catch up to. And now that it has, the world sees you clearer than ever. You didn't step into a new level. You stepped into the level that was always yours. They just never imagined you'd reach it. They kept replaying that moment in their heads, trying to figure out what changed, what shifted, what triggered the spark behind your eyes. Because the version of you they prepared for, the version they talked down to, underestimated, doubted, dismissed, that version didn't show up. Someone else walked in. Someone sharper. Someone calmer, someone who wasn't carrying the weight of proving anything anymore. And that's what shook them most. Your silence didn't feel passive. It felt intentional, strategic, powerful. It felt like someone who finally understood their own worth. Someone who no longer needed outside confirmation to move like they belong. You didn't meet their energy. You reshaped it. You didn't match their tone, you elevated it. And when you looked at them, really looked, your eyes didn't hold the insecurity they were used to preying on. They held awareness, precision, understanding, like you could read their thoughts before they said a word. That type of presence makes people nervous because they can't guide someone who sees the situation from the top view. They wanted you predictable. You showed up unreadable. They wanted you ordinary. You arrived undeniable. And the whole time they're trying to figure out how you leveled up so effortlessly. They're missing a simple truth. Nothing about your rise was effortless. It was intentional. It was built in the shadows, away from their opinions. Growth done quietly is the kind of growth that hits the loudest. That's why their reaction exposed them. Jealousy slips through facial expressions they can't control. Insecurity speaks through questions they didn't mean to ask. Unease hides in the silence after your name comes up. They aren't uneasy because of you. They're uneasy because of what you represent. Someone they can't box. Someone they can't predict. Someone they can't replace. Someone they can't replace. They saw your glow and realized it wasn't confidence. It was clarity. They saw your posture and realized it wasn't pride. It was alignment. They saw your calm and realized it wasn't softness. It was refined steadiness. And suddenly, all the assumptions they built about you collapsed. Because how do you judge someone who no longer exists in the version you tried to define? The old you would have explained. The old you would have apologized. The old you would have dimmed your tone because you didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. But the new you, you're not shrinking. You're not bending. You're not molding yourself into shapes that make other people feel taller. You're done with that era entirely. And the moment they realized you outgrew their narrative, their whole energy changed. Respect where there was arrogance. Caution where there was boldness. Silence where there was noise. That's the real sign you leveled up. Not applause, not validation, not recognition. The shift in how your presence makes them behave. You didn't announce anything. You didn't post a hint. You didn't warn them. You simply arrived as someone they were never prepared to meet. And the shock in their eyes wasn't confusion. It was exposure. Because people can pretend all day that they don't care. They don't watch. They don't compare. Until you level up in a way that forces them to confront every story they told themselves about you. Their reaction wasn't about who you are today. It was about everything they missed along the way. They missed the nights you stayed focused while they got distracted. They missed the moments you rebuilt yourself instead of giving up. They missed the deep inner challenges you navigated, the discipline you sharpened, the instincts you trusted. They thought you were stagnant simply because they couldn't see your progress. But that's the thing. Your growth didn't happen in public. It happened in private, in silence, in the parts of your life nobody clapped for. So when you stepped into this new level, they had no choice but to confront a truth they avoided. You evolved while they stayed comfortable, and comfort never beats hunger. That's why their faces changed, because suddenly the roles flipped. The person they looked down on became the reflection they didn't want to face. Your presence reminded them of everything they wasted time. Potential. Opportunities. While they were repeating cycles, you were rewriting stories. While they were playing small, you were thinking long-term. While they were gossiping, you were growing. It's not your rise that bothers them. It's the mirror effect. Your evolution exposes their stagnation. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Your silence exposes their noise. They're not reacting to your power. They're reacting to what your power says about them. That's why they keep staring longer than they should. That's why their voice changes when they speak to you. That's why they suddenly act careful, respectful, neutral. It's not kindness, it's caution. They realized you're not someone they can predict anymore. Your moves aren't traceable. Your intentions aren't guessable. You learned how to hold your mind steady in places where they would have felt overwhelmed. You learned how to stay calm in challenges that would have weighed on them deeply. You learned how to create space, protect your peace, and move smarter, not louder. And now that you're stepping into this new frequency, you're teaching them something they never expected to learn from you. Power is quiet until it needs to speak. And when it finally does, it changes the whole room. The wildest part is this: they didn't expect your evolution to feel this personal. They thought your growth would be something distant, something they could ignore, something that wouldn't touch their world. But when you stepped into that new level, it didn't just elevate you, it revealed everything around them. Your presence became a spotlight, revealing cracks in their confidence, flaws in their plans, and gaps in their character. You didn't call anyone out, your progress did. You didn't confront anyone, your glow did. You didn't even try to unsettle anyone. Your aura did that on its own. Because real power isn't in the words you say. It's in the pressure people feel when you walk into a room with nothing to prove. And what shook them most was how natural your rise looked. Like it wasn't forced. Like it wasn't new. Like you were meant for this level the whole time and just needed the right moment to activate it. They saw you stand in a way that made their confidence feel rehearsed. They saw you speak in a way that made their boldness feel borrowed. They saw you exist in a way that made their presence feel temporary. And that's when they realized the truth they'd been avoiding. They weren't reacting to your success. They were reacting to your authenticity. Because when someone steps into a level that matches their soul, not society's expectations, everything about them becomes sharper. Your intuition sharpened. Your boundaries sharpened. Your pace sharpened. Your clarity sharpened. You learned to stop explaining who you are and started embodying it. And suddenly, the quiet one became the most unpredictable one. The underdog became the one setting the tempo. The unnoticed one became the one everyone can't stop watching. And the same people who once questioned your potential now study your every move like a blueprint. They didn't expect you to own. They're not confused by your rise. They're unsettled by how effortless it looks, how controlled your energy feels, how impossible it is to shake your focus. You became someone who can't be baited, can't be influenced, can't be dragged into drama. Your silence isn't a pause, it's a strategy. Your calm isn't emptiness, it's control. Your presence isn't luck, it's earned. You operate from an internal foundation no one gave you. You built it brick by brick, with lessons most people run from. And when you stand on something that's real, people feel it before they understand it. That's why the room reacts the way it does. That's why energy shifts when you speak. That's why eyes follow you even when you're trying to move unnoticed. They thought you were stepping up. You were stepping into the version of yourself that was waiting on the other side of every moment. They underestimated. What's funny is, they're acting shocked. But you've been carrying this evolution quietly for a long time. You didn't wake up one morning and randomly level up. You've been sharpening in the dark, adjusting your mindset, shifting your priorities, removing your distractions, rearranging your spirit piece by piece. You outgrew the version of you they were familiar with, but they stayed stuck in the version of themselves they refused to question. And now the gap is loud. They thought you moved in silence because you were unsure, but you moved in silence because certainty doesn't need confirmation. You weren't hiding your growth, you were protecting it. Because you know this by now. People interfere with what they don't understand. And they definitely didn't understand you. They misread your calm as weakness, your patience as passivity, your stillness as defeat. They didn't know your calm was actually composure. Your patience was timing. Your stillness was strategy. You weren't doing nothing. You were doing everything they couldn't see. And now they can't unsee it. The moment you stepped into that higher frequency, everything around you became transparent. You saw who was clapping out of habit instead of belief, who was checking on you to measure your pace, not your peace, who was waiting for updates just to compare them against their own progress. People don't talk about this part. Evolution creates distance that explanations can't fix, because your upgrade came with a new kind of quiet. A quiet that makes people uncomfortable, because it's the kind of quiet that comes from someone who's no longer reachable on the level where they left you. You're not ignoring anyone. You're just not available in the spaces you've already healed past. Your old self had openings for chaos. Your new self has boundaries that feel like walls to the people who once walked through you like hallways. And that's why their reactions are wild right now. They can't access you the way they used to. They can't read you the way they used to. They can't influence you the way they used to. You became unpredictable, not because you changed, but because their old playbook no longer applies to the version of you standing here now. You're operating on instinct, on intuition, on alignment. And people feel uneasy around what they can't categorize. They feel uneasy around what they can't predict. They feel uneasy around what they can't control. Your silence became your shield. Your peace became your strength. Your evolution became their accountability. And now they're replaying every moment, every conversation, every assumption they ever made about you. Because suddenly, everything they thought they knew looks outdated. They didn't just witness your rise, they witnessed the truth they never expected. You were never out of moves. You were simply out of tolerance for anything beneath your destiny. And here's the part that really shakes them. The part they'll never admit out loud. Your evolution wasn't supposed to happen in front of them. They thought they had time. They thought they understood your pace, your patterns, your personality. They thought they could predict you until you started moving on frequencies they didn't even know existed. That's when the concern hit, because suddenly, they weren't dealing with the version of you they were comfortable doubting. They were dealing with the version of you who finally remembered exactly who you are. And nothing unsettles people more than a person stepping into their natural power. You didn't get louder. You got clearer. You didn't get angrier. You got smarter. You didn't get colder. You just stopped handing out access to people who misused it. That's why your silence hits harder than your voice ever did. They don't know what you're thinking anymore. They don't know what you're planning. They don't know where you stand. Or worse, where you're headed. And uncertainty is their discomfort. But for you, that uncertainty is freedom. Because you stopped performing for the expectations of people who never saw your potential anyway. You let go of the need to prove anything. You let go of the need to be understood. You let go of the need to convince anyone you were worthy. Your evolution didn't ask for permission. It demanded space. And you honored it. That's what unsettles them. They swear you switched up, but really, you simply stopped shrinking. You stopped over-explaining. You stopped offering previews of the next move. You stopped carrying the weight of their comfort on your back. And once you released all of that, something wild happened. Everything that was slowing you down fell away. People who were using you got uncomfortable. People who depended on your silence got exposed. People who underestimated you got corrected. And people who took you for granted learned the lesson in real time. They thought your quiet meant you were out of options. But your quiet meant you were out of illusions. You saw everything clearly. You saw everyone clearly. And once you recognized the truth, your evolution became unavoidable. So let them react. Let them whisper. Let them replay your steps, like they're trying to solve a puzzle that no longer includes them. Let them sit with the realization that the version of you they tried to box in was just your warm-up. You don't owe anyone a return to who you used to be. You don't owe anyone an apology for outgrowing the places that weren't built for your expansion. You don't owe anyone access to parts of you they mishandled. This next chapter, it's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Because their reaction said everything, but your rise said more.